Good morning and welcome to Little by Little, a short time in God's Word. Today, February 16th, we're in the book of Numbers and we're starting the book of Leviticus. Now, what makes sense chronologically about the timing of this is you can't start Leviticus until you've finished Exodus because you can't do all the sacrifices till you have a place to sacrifice. And that's what the end of Exodus was about, is preparing all the things necessary and needed for the tabernacle, including all the things for sacrifice. Well, in Numbers chapter 8 and into chapter 9, it's the preparation, continuing, separating the Levites, and then they're going to have the Passover, chapter 9. Which, of course, they celebrated for the first time on the night that God set them free. Now, beginning in Leviticus chapter 1, what we're going to see is all the requirements and the ways in which they're supposed to sacrifice and offer to the Lord. Burnt offerings and grain offerings and peace offerings are the ones specifically outlined in these first chapters. And there's going to be provision for those that don't have much, right? So it's not just only rich can give, right? The other thing to recognize and remember is it's an agrarian society, agricultural, if you will. Everyone had livestock, right? That was just how it was. So those that really had nothing still may have access to small birds or things like that. Turtle doves, pigeons, those kind of things. So there was provision for that, right? Because no one's excluded in God's kingdom. No one's excluded from getting their sins forgiven, from making offerings to the Lord. But the way in which they were to go about it, that's what Leviticus is going to be about. And there's going to be specific ways in which they're supposed to offer it. And we find these rather strange. We find it difficult. How did they even do all this? And what was the whole point of it all? Well, again, some of it's identification. Look at chapter 3, verse 12. If the offering is a goat, he shall offer it before the Lord and lay his hand on its head and kill it in front of the tent of meeting, and the sons of Aaron shall throw its blood against the sides of the altar. Why would you put your hand on it? You're identifying with, recognizing that animal is taking your place, right? It would have been pretty dramatic if you're offering for sin and for thanksgiving to the Lord or something like that, and you have to kill an animal and put your hand on their head as identifying that this animal is representing and he's taking my place and he's dying and I'm not dying. And as it gets into the other offerings, it would be very clear, right, that sin's a nasty thing. And the whole process, messy, smelly. But then there's a place for fragrant offerings, right, pleasing unto the Lord. And all of this is to really get to their heart. Because what we'll see, and we begin to see as we've started studying the book of Isaiah in Calvary Chapel on Wednesdays, is God was done with their sacrifices. Here we are at the beginning of that time where God's like, here's what you got to do. Here's what it looks like. Here's all the ways and here's all the things, right? And you read through man, that's a lot. And it became routine and rote and meaningless. And anything we do for the Lord isn't become routine or rote or meaningless, right? We're to do it with our whole heart, mind, and soul. And so that's still true today. Right? When we gather together as God's people, the church, we shouldn't look at it as a check in the box. We should look at it with gratitude, with thankfulness in our heart that we get together. We have a place to gather, that God's going to meet us there, that we're going to learn, we're going to grow, and we're going to be sent back out into the world to be salt and light. And so we don't take any of it for granted. We don't want to treat it frivolously. And just as they were instructed in the ways that they were to approach God, and the way that they were to approach their sin, we're to approach it in very similar ways. without the blood and the gore. That's already once for all Christ, the Lamb who was slain. So we don't have to do that. But we do come humbly, recognizing I don't have anything to offer, but for God, rich in mercy. Till next time, keep growing.